that are on hotter seats than others. Bucky Brooks, our friend Bucky, put together a list of the top 5 quarterback coach combos that are under the most pressure heading into the 2021 season. You know you love lists. So Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay are number 1. Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh are 2. Carson Wentz, Frank Reich 3. Derek Carr, John Gruden 4. And Andy Dalton / Justin Fields and Matt Nagy are 5.
So I feel like Carson Wentz and Frank are 1 because they rolled the dice a little bit because of the season. Like McVay and Stafford. We know Stafford's talented. We know McVay is smart. I mean, what do we? Do they have to win the Super Bowl? Like, I feel like Harbaugh, Lamar. Lamar's good. Harbaugh's good. But the question now with Wentz is he any good anymore? That feels like pressure to me. That is something to prove. This dude could not hit stuff out in the flat, like was overthrowing screens.
I think Carson Wentz has a lot of pressure on him this season.
I think he has a ton.
I agree, especially the way that the Colts played last year. Like, they were very impressive. So if he comes in and he's not slinging it, and the way that he exited Philadelphia,
A little ugly.
Was not pretty. So that adds a little extra pressure too. I do think Matthew Stafford does have some pressure. We've heard a lot about how great he is, and I do think that he is good. I think he is going to be successful here in LA. But he kind of has to be. Like, that was a massive move to move Jared Goff. Even though Goff was struggling, he did play in a Super Bowl with them.
Yeah.
So it's a very tough division. I think they do have a little bit of pressure, and I definitely think John Gruden and Derek Carr have a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah, no question there.
Like, they might be too.
If it doesn't work this year, they'll probably make a move.
I think you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for sort of derailed his career. He said he felt like no one wanted to give him a chance and that everyone was questioning his ability to play at a high level. But he believes that a title would change the narrative surrounding him. He told The Undefeated, winning a championship would be the ultimate redemption. It would be a middle finger to everybody, and you know where I am going to wear the ring. He had a big night, career playoff high in Game 5, 15 points, 2 rebounds,
he played
3
well.
assists. He did. Listen, I'm not going to tell Boogie how to feel. It's discouraging when people don't want you and you feel like you still have potential and stuff to offer. But he did have a lot of injuries, and one of them was Achilles, and we know how hard that is to come back from. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that it's unfair that people were skeptical of if he was going to be able to play consistently at a high level. But you don't need to necessarily be the guy that's putting up big numbers every single night on a championship team. If you play a specific role on a championship team, that has extreme value.
If he ends his career, DeMarcus Cousins ends his career with a title and those points, and he made a lot of money. He'll have a title. He played a lot of years. That is better than 98% of the players in this league. If you take out the top 30, 40 players ever, take those guys out, top 50 players ever, making an easy number to remember. And I said, yeah, you ended up with $100 million. You won a title and played for 17 years. You'd be like, yeah, I'll take that. That is, by the way, that is a better than average career.
That's an amazing career. I think we get a little too crazy with what everybody is supposed to accomplish.
Yeah.
Right? And we were talking a lot about this yesterday. What's the difference between the greatest in the game and great and good? Like, there are just that little extra stuff that separates you. You can still have an incredible career and not have 3 or 4 championships and go down as the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
I think Boogie's had a great career. He's just had a lot of injuries.
Yep.
And when you are a player that has multiple injuries back to back, or you're suffering from really extreme injuries like an Achilles injuries, people are going to be hesitant about giving you, first of all, a lot of guaranteed money.
Yeah.
And putting you in a situation where they have to rely on you every night. And I don't think that that's unfair, especially as you get further and further in your career. When you're a younger player, then you know you're going to bounce back and you have years to, develop and whatever. But I just think it's funny he's going to get his ring made if he has one for his middle finger. It's a move. So Dennis Schroeder is one of the Lakers' big free agents this offseason. He reportedly turned down a 4-year, $84 million extension with the team. Earlier this year, in his exit interviews, he denied that money was the reason why he turned it down and reiterated he wants to be in LA. But in his quest for a new contract, he reportedly is expecting to get around $100 to $120 million in free agency.
He's a good player. He's inconsistent, but he's a very good player. And I'll be honest with you, I think he's got leverage here. Because
With the Lakers?
Well, I think he does. I mean, LeBron is now at year 18. Anthony Davis, I think, will have a very good year. He'll train hard in the offseason, but he's got injuries. Dennis is, from what I'm told, can ruffle feathers, not easy to get along with. Because of LeBron's sort of gravitas in the room, LeBron makes it work with him. But in the end, if you told me I had to keep 3 people, it would be Dennis, it would be LeBron, it would be Anthony Davis. And everything else, to me, I would work around. I like KCP. I would love to have him. But if you told me I get 3, that's what I'd want. So I think Schroeder knows that.
Well, there are only so many high-level players to go around.
Right.
The Lakers do have a ton of free agents this year, so it's going to look very different. But I think specifically if you pay attention to what's happening in the playoffs right now, and you do have an injury-prone player in Anthony Davis, and LeBron is getting more and more years tacked on his career, having a bench is very important. So how much money you spend on the top half of your roster, if you don't have a solid bench, when you get later into the season and injuries happen, as we know, and you already have an injury-prone player, you know, at what number are you willing to pay for a player like Dennis Schroeder?
Listen, you don't want to pay him 120. You want to pay him 80. How do I know that? Because they did.
They did.
They feel he's an $85 million guy, not a 120. And the difference in that is a bench player. The difference in that is keeping a Kuzma, who LeBron doesn't play well with. But I just think it's one of these. Sometimes the player does have leverage. And when you have an aging star and a brittle star, Schroeder's pretty valuable on that team to me.
So expectations are always high before an NFL season starts, but there are some quarterback head coaches.
Keep hearing about all these guys that want to play in New York. Where are they? Julius Randle's a big get. All right. Here's something to remember. Now, in pro sports, the way pro sports are built, they're trying to create, except baseball with no salary cap, but NBA, NHL, NFL, they have salary caps. They're trying to keep it even. If you're good, you draft last in the first round, right? College sports are different. The better you are, the more you dominate recruiting. So college is built for dynasties, built for big brands. There's no salary cap there, right? So just think of how hard it is to win. And Utah's been this close twice. No MJ, they got 2 titles, this close. So think in college sports how good Kansas basketball is. The guy who invented basketball is from Kansas, so they had a little head start on everybody else. He invented it, James Naismith. They had Wilt. They have nothing but 4- and 5-star athletes. They have one of the best coaches, Bill Self, in college basketball. Before him, Roy Williams. Those are 2 of the top 5 coaches last 20 years, arguably, right? 30 years, 1 title. 1, Kansas. They invented the sport. 1, Texas football. When you think Texas, I think football. Texas has an unbelievable brand. You ever fly into Dallas and you get to 10,000 feet, down to 5,000 feet, and you're getting ready to go into Dallas-Fort Worth Airport? You ever do that at night and you see the high school football stadiums, 8 of them, they're all like 30,000 people? It's like no other state's like that. The state school in Texas. Texas football, 40 years, 1 title. And it was like a last play of the game thing with USC. They came this close to losing it at the Rose Bowl. Kansas, basketball, Texas football, 2 titles, 70 years combined. One sport invented their sport. The other one feels like they did. And that's college sports, where dynasties happen. Utah's well-run, exceptionally well-run. For years, it was exceptionally well-owned. Great coaches, great scouting, great players. I want to hear about, nobody really wants to play in Utah. Nobody wants to play in Cleveland. LeBron asked Chris Bosh, would you come here? Bosh is like, I'm not coming. Can you imagine that, LeBron in his prime? You pick the phone up, you're Chris Bosh. You're playing in Canada. Ring. Hello, it's Chris Bosh. Hi, it's LeBron James, the world's greatest basketball player. Would you like to come play with me? Love to. Where? Cleveland. Click. Nobody wants to play in Cleveland. I want to hear about Utah. The coaches like it. The stars like it. By the way, I kept hearing Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell don't get along. I don't know. They were number 1 seed. Seemed to get along fine to me. Donovan Mitchell's fine. Utah's fine. They're Gonzaga. You can't be that well run for 100 years or however long. Gonzaga's been well run in Utah. They'll break through. But it's sort of like when Michael ran the league. Houston didn't do anything till Michael played baseball for a couple years. Then Houston did stuff. If you're well run, if you're smart in life, if you make good decisions, you'll break through. Just be patient. It's all masonry, man. Just lay the bricks one after one. You'll break through. Joy with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Well, DeMarcus Cousins is